Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. I am back with What If Tanjiro had Sith breathing part 2 of 2, or well, the finale. And as always, if y'all enjoy, make sure to leave a like, a sub, and also check the links in the description below. Most of y'all know this, and I'll say it a million times, and maybe we'll have a conversation about it on a stream soon. What ifs are slowly but surely dying. And that's just kind of the nature of everything on YouTube. So for those who don't really know YouTube very well, that's kind of how things work to an extent. But in terms of like new animes coming out and stuff like that, you never really know. Things could go popular again, things could blow up again, and we could get a repeat of everything that happened in the very beginning of the What If community scene. Obviously, I started extremely late compared to everybody else. I'm not saying this because I'm going to quit, because I really still enjoy this type of stuff. I really don't. I do care about views, but I also care about enjoying what I'm doing. So as long as I'm enjoying it, you will get content from me all the time. And that's just the case. So maybe when new animes come out, maybe when new seasons come out, we'll see a resurgence in viewership and stuff. But nonetheless, for those who are enjoying, thanks for all the support. Thanks for the love. I appreciate that. More than you could possibly imagine. And yeah, you'll be seeing more stuff out of me in terms of non-What If stuff. Like, we have the What If channel, but I'll be making new channels and stuff like that throughout my YouTube lifespan, I guess you could say. I just wanted to say that. I know that's a pretty long intro. Normally I don't like talking this long, but I just wanted to say those things. I might get back to my anime channel and try to do some content there. I haven't really decided yet, or maybe we'll do something else. We will see. Nonetheless, I hope y'all enjoy. And yeah, let's just get right into the finale of What If Tanjiro had Sith breathing. Let's get it. Tanjiro Kamado. He approaches the forest that is filled with demons. He immediately says that he can sense the strongest demon in the forest, telling both Shinobu and also Tomioka that he'll be handling him. Right before they can even say a word, Tanjiro is gone. Tanjiro is hunting down this demon, and eventually he would be found. Tanjiro would sit on a tree as this so-called higher ranked demon, or at least the highest ranked demon they've seen to this point, or Tanjiro has, excluding Muzan, because he's not really a ranked demon, he's the king of the demons. He watches down below as Rui begins to speak with his sister, calling her useless, calling her this or that, saying that she is useless unless she actually does her job, protect the family. If not, then she has no business living or even being here, that she's just a waste of space. As he says this, immediately the girl demon runs off. Tanjiro jumps down and begins to completely berate Rui. Rui tells Tanjiro that he has no reason to even judge him, but just as Rui's turning toward Tanjiro, he's in shock. This is him. He can feel him in the memories of Muzan. Muzan himself ran away. Should he run away? Can he run away? Rui cannot even move. He begins to listen to these memories and the information that Muzan said, saying that Muzan basically only spotted this person. But now he's seeing the memories of Muzan running away. Maybe it was a tactical retreat. Maybe it was fear. Maybe this boy can actually kill all of them. He doesn't know. Rui is watching Tanjiro, staring at him as Tanjiro slowly but surely walks toward him as he pulls out his hilt, or obviously we know as his lightsaber. Immediately he breathes in and out as the blade, or the energy blade, comes out of his hilt. He stares at Rui as he spins it, telling him that he has no way out. He could run, but he will die here. Immediately, Rui wonders if maybe he's not as strong as they think. Maybe it was just someone that is unknown. They know very little about this Sith breather, this person that can control what seems to be just floating in the air. He doesn't know, but nonetheless, he's going to fight him and see. Immediately sending his blood demon art toward Tanjiro. But as it strikes Tanjiro, it seems as if it doesn't even hit him. Bouncing off and getting slashed through with relative ease, Tanjiro begins to completely mock him, telling him that family is something that he will never, ever betray. And the fact that Rui sits here and gets mad, gets frustrated, and throws away his sister like garbage, that's something Tanjiro will not and will never forgive. Tanjiro walks toward Rui and stares daggers into him, and Rui cannot move an inch. He wonders, why is he acting like this? He wonders why Tanjiro is so upset about this specific event, and he realizes something. Muzan changed this boy's sister into a demon, and now maybe the sister's dead? Maybe there's a reason why he's so angry. Maybe he's protecting her? Well, this would come to fruition as Nezuko would crawl out of her box. Rui would immediately see this as an opening, sending these strings toward Nezuko as if he's trying to kill her, but Nezuko herself is able to dodge out of the way with relative ease. Tanjiro shakes his head and lifts Rui into the air without even touching him, using the power of the Force. Tanjiro mocks him, saying that Nezuko may have not trained a day in her life like himself, and may have not had some special power, but since her big brother has this power, there's a link between them, and there always will be. Tanjiro then proceeds to annihilate, and when I mean annihilate Rui, slicing him to bits. Every idea that maybe Tanjiro would be outclassed, and maybe, just maybe, Muzan did retreat because, well, maybe he wasn't fully in fear, but there could have been a case of not knowing what was ahead. This gives Tanjiro more and more confidence and frankly more and more power over the idea that the Demon King may not be as big of a threat as he thought initially. He begins to slice down Rui, pinning him basically to a tree with no limbs attached to him currently. Tanjiro puts his blade or his saber up to Rui's neck and slices through it, including the tree, as it topples down. Tanjiro then stabs Rui in the side to gain some of the blood and begins to walk off as his saber goes back within his hilt. As he leaves, he begins to basically look around as Shinobu and also Giyu Tomioka has handled the rest of the entirety of the forest. As he leaves, though, information begins to spread that Tanjiro has slain one of the 12 Kizuki on his own. Getting the final blow and the kill, he would eventually be open to the idea of entering, well, being a Hashira. But as of course he's already at Hashira level, and he thinks this little title means absolutely nothing. He doesn't care about it, he's not fond over it, and frankly, he doesn't care about the entirety of the corp. It doesn't really bother him at all. All he cares about is killing demons and saving his sister. He continues on, and eventually they'd make a big sweep of the entirety of the forest, leading them to finally heading back to the Hashira mansion. When they're back at the Hashira mansion, Tomioka would introduce the idea of him or of Tanjiro becoming a quote-unquote Hashira, or labeled as one. He tells Tomioka that they can call him whatever they want, but he has no intention of being deemed as whatever, or he doesn't really care about what they deem him. He's just here to kill the demons, and that's it. That's all he wants, and he'll say it a million times over. He doesn't really care about all of these shenanigans. And Tomioka thought that this would be most likely the answer, but Tanjiro would eventually be deemed as the Sith Hashira. But nonetheless, he doesn't really care. Just because he has a title doesn't mean much else at all. But at the same time, this would mean that, well, he would be able to go on different missions and basically probably be given harder missions at that, ones that only people or only demon slayers that are on a Hashira level would go on to. Of course, Tanjiro tells them that he has his own agenda. Getting blood from these 12 Kizuki is something he needs to do at the end of the day. That is the bare minimum. So any chance that he can come across a demon that is of the 12 Kizuki, he wants to be in line to kill them. Of course, this basically hunt for the 12 Kizuki wouldn't begin again since there's really nothing going on at the moment. Tanjiro would go on some random missions getting blood from some decently strong demons, but nowhere near the power of the 12 Kizuki. But of course, the drops of blood and this blood that they're getting is something that is definitely, to an extent, beneficial. But at the same time, it's not enough to actually matter a large degree. Of course, Tanjiro would continue his quote-unquote Hashira training. Yes, he has been fathered into the, Hashira title, but he wants to continue learning more and more. And as he does realize that there are some growth there are growths and growth patterns that he realizes that he is now picking up. Various different versions of total concentration constants, various different effects that he can use it for, and his breathing style alone is beginning to develop more and more, allowing him to basically maneuver and use certain techniques. He's not really into, making quote-unquote breathing styles and basically all these fancy names, but it does affect his fight style in general, allowing him to use his saber a lot better than ever before. So in terms of basically technique and him being able to use the saber, it's a lot less, you could say it's more polished and a lot less gritty. Of course, he just continues on with what he's been this entire time, and he does help out with training some of the other demon slayers that he doesn't know much about. One's by the name of Zenitsu and another by the name of Inosuke. But of course, he's annoyed by their constant crying and reactions and anger and whatever, because Tanjiro doesn't want to deal with all of that. But of course, if he can make these demon slayers, less useless, he's going to make sure that's the case. But eventually, the time would come. Rengoku would head off to the Mujin train, and 2 other demon slayers would follow after him as well. Tanjiro would go on a mission on his own and begin to basically kill off some lower ranked demons, or demons that aren't part of the 12 Kizuki, helping a village or 2, or really anything you can really think of. He would eventually get back to the Hashira mansion and realize that it's been about 12 hours and Rengoku has not arrived once again, and the other 2 demon slayers that he's with are not there as well. Immediately he would ask about this, and they wouldn't really have an answer, and the crows don't really have an answer either. But they begin saying that Rengoku should be just fine. But just as they say this, immediately Tanjiro begins sprinting at insane speeds, and frankly, he's using the Force, Sith breathing, and just its entirety to bring Nezuko with him as well, of course. But they are hauling all the way to the location of Kyojuro Rengoku. He wants to know what's occurring and why it's taking this long for a Hashira, especially of the status of Rengoku, to kill, something like this. When he arrives, he sees that the train is finally coming to a stop, and it seems as if they actually killed one of the demons, and surprisingly enough, one of these demons are part of the 12 Kizuki, just on the lower rank side. Tanjiro would take the blood from this demon, and of course Rengoku and the 2 others would question why he arrived. Tanjiro brings up the fact that Rengoku was taking far longer than he possibly expected, so he wanted to check on him. And Rengoku would kind of try to say that Tanjiro must be warming up to them, but Tanjiro would disagree, saying that he wants to make sure that no other demon slayers dies to some of these weaker 12 Kizuki, and frankly he needs some of the blood of each and every one of them, so there's really no reason for him to basically leave Rengoku to just die. As Tanjiro basically speaks with them quickly and briefly, a voice is then heard from behind them. A voice that begins to speak in a bit of a mocking tone, but at the same time points out Tanjiro. So here you are. I've been looking for you. And frankly, you're kind of the only person that I've wanted to see. Everybody else here can kind of, leave. Tanjiro turns as he sees the eyes of the upper 3 moon, Akaza. Akaza stands in front of all of them, and Rengoku even tells them to back up. telling the other two that Tanjiro and himself are the only ones that are going to be able to fight this guy. Tanjiro immediately walks toward him, pushing him backwards and then grounding him straight into the ground. And while Akaza is surprised, but is able to break free of this, jumping toward Tanjiro and Rengoku. Tanjiro immediately uses his blade to slash toward Akaza. Akaza's fist connects with his blade, but just as it does, part of it disintegrates. And Akaza is in complete shock, but at the same time, a smile would reveal right on his face. He would begin to smile and tell Tanjiro that he hasn't had a fight like this in a long time. Well, you might not want or have a fight like this in a long time, but frankly, well, this will be your last fight, Mr. Upper 3 Moon. Tanjiro dashes toward Akaza in a matter of a split second, and it's as if Akaza's hits are missing wildly. Tanjiro slices off every limb of Akaza, but they're regrown in a matter of seconds. But even Akaza can realize that his regeneration is slowly deteriorating. It's as if his regeneration is just slowing down entirely. He slices off arm after arm, and eventually Akaza is struggling to regenerate entirely. Tanjiro then tells Rengoku that help is not needed, that he can handle this and to not worry. But just as he says this, Akaza is able to catch Tanjiro off guard, landing a really, really nice punch straight to where his liver and kidneys are. Immediately, Tanjiro shrinks up a little bit, but is able to recover from the pain relatively quickly. He dashes toward Akaza once again, fighting him off with, honestly, the quickest and fastest movement Tanjiro has ever seen himself use ever during this time period. Tanjiro would slash off his arms and legs once again and go for the head. But Akaza's defense in terms of obviously his head, is far better than just letting his limbs get sliced off. Tanjiro then tells Rengoku that it's time to go, that he's going to make sure that this fight lasts as long as possible. But Rengoku disagrees, saying that he wants to fight as well. He dives in toward Akaza, slicing toward his neck, landing and almost cutting off his neck as well. And Tanjiro realizes that with Rengoku, it does give him more openings. But at the same time, he's never trained or fought with another person like this, especially with someone that he could straight up kill if he messes up one swing of his lightsaber. He doesn't want to kill Rengoku, that's what he's worried about. At the same time though, he knows that the death of an upper moon like Akaza could mean the world, could mean everything to the Demon Slayers, and could mean everything to him, meaning that he can take on someone this strong and frankly not struggle that much. He might have allowed Akaza to land a couple hits, but those couple hits will not be sustained. Tanjiro continues to batter Akaza with Rengoku's help, and he tells Rengoku that if he feels any ounce of disadvantage, that he backs out immediately, because he doesn't want basically Rengoku to, for one, die, but also get in the way of himself. He knows that if he slices through Akaza and continues that backswing, he might slice through Rengoku, and there is no stopping him from doing that. You might as well not lose another Demon Slayer or a Hashira just because that Tanjiro can't control his power as it creeps toward the darkness more and more, creeps toward the ideals of the Sith breathing style more and more. But eventually that sun would begin to rise. Akaza kicks off Tanjiro and then is able to get away slightly from Rengoku, able to grow back his limbs, and he begins to sprint away. One foot after another touches the ground, but then he realizes something. He's not moving. He can't move. He punches toward the ground, tries to get off. He uses everything he possibly can, even Blood Demon Arts, to get Tanjiro off of him. But Tanjiro stands there with his hand out, and not even with his lightsaber on his hand out alone, grabbing Akaza, forcing him still with the force. He refuses to let him go. The struggle does not matter to him. The struggle does not matter at all. He holds him exactly where he wants him, pressuring more, crunching down on every part of Akaza's body, squeezing his hand more and more and more until Akaza is embedded with the ground and the sunlight is at its peak. Tanjiro smiles and says that for one of the strongest demons on this planet, he was pretty useless. Tanjiro smashes his hand into itself as Akaza balls up into a little ball, and the sun rays begins to melt Akaza as he screams in complete agony. Tanjiro walks over, stabbing him with that so-called needle to basically gather his blood as he holds Akaza still as the sun begins to get rid of Akaza entirely. As Akaza disappears, Tanjiro staggers backwards and falls to the ground, completely out cold and completely drained of all stamina from the amount of, strength he had to use. He might be strong, and the force might be strong within Tanjiro, but at the same time, Akaza was a very powerful demon, and holding him in place to allow the sun to entirely rise is one hell of an accomplishment on its own. Tanjiro watched as Akaza died, and he passed out alongside him, confirming that a Hashira status is, the ideal status for someone like Tanjiro, the one and only Sith breather, and the one and only Sith Hashira, someone that channels a force that many do not know and many thought was a myth, but at the same time he allowed the darkest parts of his thoughts to creep in and allow him to gain power that many would never realize. But at the same time, at what cost? At the cost of his sanity, at the cost of the personality that he once knew, and at the cost of the goodness of hearts that he had before. He might see and hope that these Hashira don't die, but don't get it twisted. If they were to, for the greater good of killing every last demon, Tanjiro wouldn't care. He felt that Rengoku was useful enough in the grand scheme of things that he didn't want him to die, but if he did, and that meant Akaza's death as well, that would be good enough for him. Eventually, Tanjiro would wake up. It would be a while, and frankly, he'd be staggered a lot, but he would wake up to some news he didn't want to hear. Some news about Zenitsu, Inosuke, and also Tengen Uzui to heading off to the entertainment district and to handle demons over there. Tanjiro having lack of faith in some of these Hashira. And of course, everybody is very optimistic at the fact that Tanjiro has killed an upper moon. Someone that strong, an upper demon. Number 3 demon, in fact. What does that say about the other Hashira? What does that say about the potential of the Corp? That says a lot. But Tanjiro doesn't have faith in the Corp like that. He doesn't have faith in the idea that they'll be able to handle whatever demons ahead of them, and Tanjiro would wait. He'd bide his time and allow himself to wait for information to come from the entertainment district and the crow that would soon be, swept over and shown and spoken with him. And as he waited, he was correct. He could sense the presence of the crow approaching, and immediately it's beginning to be said that Tengen Uzui, Zenitsu, and Inosuke are fighting the upper 6 demon, Daki, and Gyutaro. Of course, Tanjiro would stand up and begin to head out, and immediately the snake Hashira, or the serpent Hashira, would immediately tell him that he can go handle this. He'll go check up on him, but Tanjiro disagrees, saying that he's too slow, that he won't get there in time. Tanjiro dashes off at insane speeds, and you can tell, even with him being out of commission, the power that he's gained throughout this entirety, or this time, over the course of every demon he's killed, it seems like he's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. When Tanjiro would arrive on the building above the fight, he'd see Daki and Gyutaro immediately fighting both Zenitsu, Tengen, and everybody else. And it would be apparent that there was no chance that they would be winning this fight alone. But just as they were beginning to think this, both Daki and Gyutaro would freeze mid-air and begin to float. Stuck mid-air, Tanjiro would be sitting on a building with both hands out, staring at the two demons. The two demons' eyes would grow wide and then realize what's in front of them. The fear in them would be immense. The scary factor of Tanjiro staring daggers into them and the inevitable crushing of them and death is something that is rushing into them and flowing within them as well. There is no way out. There's no escape, and there's no escape from the dark side of the Force. And Tanjiro sits there holding them hostage and holding them up, not being able to or forcing them to not move an inch, and he mocks them, telling them that Akaza was so much stronger, but Akaza still died. And Akaza, well, let's just say Akaza was far stronger than them, and frankly, they're not an upper moon. There's no way. They're just way too weak. Tengen looks at Tanjiro as he says this and is shocked. It's as if he heard Tengen say the exact same thing, but Tanjiro is saying this at a place of experience, at a place of complete contempt. Tanjiro knows how strong he is and how powerful he is compared to everybody else, and he knows that this is the end for every last demon, and it all starts here. And frankly, it all started the day his family died. Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Tengen Uzui would slice off the demons' heads, and the fights would end abruptly, just like that. Of course, Tanjiro would sit there and grab the blood that he needs, sending it off toward Lady Tamaya. And they become closer and closer, and frankly, extremely, extremely close to the demon's cure. And eventually, the fight with Muzan would be around the corner. But that is a story for another day, and maybe a story that won't be told of the one and only Sith breather and the one and only Sith Hashira, Tanjiro Kamado. And that is a wrap for this, well, What If. If you enjoyed What If Tanjiro Had Sith Breathing, make sure to show some love. I know the part 1 didn't do the best in terms of viewership, but like I said in the beginning, it doesn't really matter that much to me. I actually really enjoyed this series, and I do enjoy making Tanjiro What Ifs. They are on the shorter side, but they're, in my opinion, on the more enjoyable side of things for me. I know they're not as popular, but hey, for those What If YouTubers out there, do more Tanjiro What Ifs. If we all do more Tanjiro What Ifs, then they will get more popular. That's kind of just how it works. But nonetheless, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope all of y'all have an amazing day. Later.